Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We have been studying the inductive Bible study method and how to study God's Word. We talked about the importance of observation and interpretation before making application and properly taking steps to walk from the biblical world into our world, and I hope you've seen the importance of that. And so we've now moved on from talking about how to study the Bible into putting these things into practice. And so we began studying the book of Jonah, and you guys did such a great job coming to our session together with your own study and talking about all of your observation and interpretation things that you came up with. Who was Jonah? Looking into Nineveh and Tarshish and what those places were and all those things. And then we talked about some applications together. And so you did such a great job with that. It seems that you guys really know, you're beginning to come to an understanding of how to do this process and how to use some of the Bible study tools that we talked about. And so for this session, I wanted to focus on how to do a word study using the tools that we've been referring to, these online Bible study tools. And so when we're looking at Jonah, let me open up Jonah. I'm in Blue Letter Bible here. Let me just search for Jonah. And here's Jonah. Let me go to chapter 2 where we are, because it begins, Jonah prayed unto the Lord and his God out of the fish's belly, and said, I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me out of the belly of hell. Out of the belly of hell. This is the King James Version. And thou heardest my voice. So here's Jonah, and he's in the belly of this fish, and out of the belly of hell he cried. And so that brings up an interesting question. Is he in hell? Or is he just referring to the fish's belly as being hell? And so let's do a word study on hell. Let's search for hell up here and see what comes up. And again, you get all these tools. There's a primary search here, which is helpful. It tells you that when Blue Letter Bible searches for English translations of the word hell, you get 54 occurrences in 54 different verses in the King James Version. If you don't like the King James Version, you can switch to any of your favorite versions right here. And you also get dictionary entries. These are various things that are going to talk about the word hell, different frequently asked questions. And then this is a tab I really want you to focus on. This is a lexicon and concordance tab. Blue Letter Bible labels it the lexiconc. And so it searches for the word hell, and you get the results right down here. And so when you look at the English equivalent, you see that cast down to hell, hell, fire, hell, grave, grave hell, and then you get this weird one. So one easy way to weed out some of these, and it's just because it has H-E-L-L in the middle of the word. So to weed out those things, you can just click on exact search, and that'll take away the funny stuff. So here we go. We've limited our search. Blue Letter Bible has turned up 4 different results. In the Old Testament, there's the word Sheol. And in the New Testament, there's the word Hades, Gehenna, and Tartarus, or Tartaru. So these are the question then becomes when you're doing a word study, okay, all these words are translated in the English versions as hell. Is there a difference between them? In other words, in the Old Testament, does the word Sheol mean something different from the word Hades? And does the word Hades mean something different from the word Gehenna, and so on and so forth all the way through? Are they different? Are they similar? And how are they different and similar? So this is what we want to find out now. So now we can begin looking into the separate words. Let's click on the Hebrew. This is the Strong's number. So it's a Hebrew word. It's Hebrew word 7585 in the Strong's Concordance. And let's bring that up. Lexicon entry says that this is the word Sheol. You can hear it pronounced. You get some grammar here. And then a brief Strong. So the Strong's Concordance tells you that this word Sheol is translated as grave 31 times, hell equally as much, and then pit 3 times. So again, one of the things that I want to find out, and that I want you guys to find out, is there a difference between the word hell and grave? We need to find that out. It's going to be important in our study. But so you get an outline of biblical usage, that it means Sheol, underworld, grave, hell, or pit. And then you get the primary definitions here. Here's the Strong's definition, and then a little more in depth, the Hebrew lexicon definition. And then so down here, when you scroll to the bottom, you get another concordance entry. And this is a concordance entry not for the word hell, but just for the word Sheol. So this is going to be useful. So we can begin scrolling down here and reading through these different verses and seeing how the word Sheol is translated. And it always gives you the number right afterwards. So I will go down into the grave. So in this instance, in Genesis 37:35, it's translated as grave again, grave again, grave again. And it's not until Numbers that we get a different translation where it says into the pit. Again, Numbers says into the pit. And then Deuteronomy is the first occurrence where the word Sheol is translated as hell. So this is interesting. And what we can do then is use the tools for each of those separate verses. And let's see what comes up when we look at different translations. So here it says into the grave. New Living Translation says go to my grave. NIV says in the grave. ESV says actually down to Sheol. So you can see how the different translations help you understand the word and what it's trying to get at. These are all translations of Sheol, and you can go through it and read these. But so let's go back to our question then. Does Sheol mean like a burial place, like where you've placed a body in the ground, as in this term? Or does it mean hell, as in a spiritual realm, the underworld? So let's search for grave, because that's the other translation, right? Let's search for the word grave, not grace. Oops, grave, and see what comes up. When we search for the word grave, it brings up another primary search with all these different instances. I want to click on that lexicon tab. And again, I'm going to narrow it down by exact match to get rid of some of the extra stuff. It's not going to get rid of it all, as we can see, because we still get to grave, graven, engrave, and those aren't the things we're looking for. But you can see that we have, there is a specific Hebrew word for a sepulcher, a grave, a burial place. Again, a grave, a sepulcher, a burial place. So this Hebrew word kiver, or kuvara, are different, obviously, from the word Sheol. So one of the things I want you to do in your word study then is to differentiate between the two. This word is translated burial place, sepulcher, burying place, burying place. So in the Hebrew language, there is a word specifically for a burial place, or a tomb, or a sepulcher. A grave, it's translated as grave 35 times, as we see right here. So, what is the difference between this word kiver and the other Hebrew word Sheol that we're looking at? Can Sheol mean the same thing as kiver, where it's just a burial place in the ground? Or does the word Sheol always point you back to that spiritual underworld? That's something that we want to distinguish between. Okay, so then you have the Greek words. There's Hades, Gehenna, and Tartarus. I'll let you look those up for yourself, because I want to really quickly just show you one of the other tools and how it can help you in your study as well. So let's go to Bible.org. And Bible.org is the website that has their own kind of study tool, which they call Lumina. And so if you open up Lumina, let's first go ahead and go to Jonah, because that's the text that we're in. Jonah, we'll go to chapter 2, and right away you can see this parallel tab, this parallel window here, opens you right up and gives you all kind of the little notes. These are the NET notes. And so these little things help you understand the verses over here. You can open up a parallel Bible translation, including the original language. And so when you hover over these words, you can see it highlights the original language for you and gives you in that box at the bottom a little bit of information. So I want to see what Sheol looks like in the Hebrew, and there it is, and it tells me a little bit about that word. You can look in the library, and then you can search for various things. So here's maps pertaining to Jonah. Let's do a search for, again, for the word, oops, there's my Listexia kicking in, for the word hell. Okay, you can see it pops up all these things. It tells you that there's journal entries, there's notes, there's all these things you can look at, but there is a dictionary entry for hell. So I want to look at what that is, and it opens up this new tab for word study, which is what we're doing. We're doing a word study. There's no Strong's entry here, but there are Webster's and Oxford dictionaries. I'm primarily concerned with these. These are Bible dictionaries. There's ISBE, Nave's Topical Dictionary, Easton's Dictionary. These are really helpful. So these tell you a little bit about the biblical definitions of the word hell. So here's in Easton's Dictionary, there's a number 1 for Sheol. There's a number 2 for the Greek word Hades. And then there's a third entry for Gehenna. And again, one of the great things about these online Bible tools is that whenever you have these hyperlinked texts, you can just hover over them and it shows you what the text is. So you don't have to go searching, you don't have to flip pages, you don't even have to click if you don't want to. You can just hover over it and it opens it up. Let's go to Nave's Topical Dictionary. This is a little more broad search, I guess. And then you have this ISBE. So look at this. This tells you right up front that hell also has these other words that behind it, Sheol, Hades, and Gehenna. And then it goes through, and again, with each number, it's going to give you, here's a separate entry for Gehenna, and then a 4th entry for Tartarus. So that can really help you. So this might be an easier way for you to do your study. We can still do all of that in Blue Letter Bible simply by going through and let's go back to the, let's see, this is the word hell. Yeah, so let's go to the dictionaries. And here's Eastman's Bible Dictionary for the word hell, the ISBE for the word hell, Nave's Topical Bible for the word hell, and even a few others. There's a thematic subject guide, Torrey's New Topical Textbook, Vine's Expository Dictionary of the New Testament Words is a really great resource. And so these things are all here in Blue Letter Bible as well. It's just not as easy on the eyes, I guess you could say, as something like this. So there you go. Again, I am praying for you. I hope that that you are praying and searching God's Word as well. And I really want you guys to see the power behind doing something like this when you see the difference between the word Sheol and Kiver and what those Hebrew words mean and how they are not the same. There's a hint. And then when you move into the New Testament, the word Hades, Gehenna, and Tartarus, what are the differences between these words? And then, do any of these words mean the same thing as Sheol in the Old Testament? If so, which ones are the same and which ones are different? So those are the things that I'm praying and I'm hoping that you will come back with in our next session. I hope you're having a fantastic new year. Thanks for watching this, and I'll see you soon.